Lachie,
Good morning.
good morning. What an interesting turn of events we find ourselves in. Full disclosure, there is no fire this morning.
Negatory.
Not a physical fire, anyway.
There's mental fire.
Mental fire. We are stoking this morning. Yeah, how you feeling?
By the sounds of it, potentially much better than you.
Yeah, another disclaimer. I have been sick for over a week and I cannot kick it. So, like previous to another episode, I believe, I'm going to try my best not to cough or sniff too much on the microphone. Apologies if I do, though.
I'm loving this. I love the fact that we can be out in the sun and have a chat, stoke it up, and then still have a full day of work in front of us
Yeah.
to implement and take action.
Yeah.
We finished last episode talking about my circle, and it went for longer than we were potentially expecting, and I get the feeling that we could string it out for more and more episodes, but what we have decided to do is dedicate a whole episode to Jonah and his circle. And depending on how long it goes, we might chuck in sprinkle in a little bit of pepper at the end and add something extra, but we'll just see how it flows and ask similar questions to what we asked myself and see where we go.
Yeah. Just to break the ice quickly before we jump in, have you been aware or consciously using different fuel types in your world in the last week, or hasn't been on your mind as much?
I haven't been implementing different fuel types yet, but I'm going to circle back, no pun intended.
Oof.
When we talked about finding our circles, often it's something you're not aware about.
Yep.
But now, after that episode, I am incredibly aware.
Interesting.
And anytime someone mentions, there's like trigger words that someone says in a sentence, and even if I'm not part of the conversation, I'm all of a sudden part of the conversation. So it's not something I've dived into head first, and I'm gonna like rush and chase. But I think it's an aspect of my life I just want to be a bit more aware of, and see where that leads. So it's definitely been in the front of my forehead for a while. So
should we get into it?
I reckon we should.
Okay. We probably discussed this idea of circles 3 or 4 weeks ago. We went for like a week where we just tried to discover our own circles and decided not to tell each other until we were recording them. I've probably spent the last 2 weeks like really thinking about my circle, and I kind of had, I guess, one layer of it. And then after our conversation last week about what's in the circle, what's outside of the circle, what is the line actually made of, and is it worth it? This week I've actually discovered that there's probably like a deeper level to the circle initially, like it spreads into more areas. And so when you just said that you've been seeing it, now that you're conscious of it, you can see it pop up more. I'm having that experience too. We just haven't spoken about it. I feel like it might take a little bit for me to explain the circle.
We've got a whole episode,
We
baby.
have a whole episode, so I'm gonna try my best, and we'll see what happens. Going back on like my history and my upbringing, grew up in the UK, and I was 14 when we moved to Australia. Having moved once within the UK, because I've become aware of the circle, I've been trying to trace back where the circle came from. I think 14-year-old Jonah learnt something when we moved from the UK to Australia that isn't necessarily true, but it taught me something and ingrained a response in me that I think I've just been living with. This is the first layer of the circle before I connected it to something deeper, is that relationships don't last. Like, I have quite a big extended family. After living in the UK for 14 years and being at school and being part of different networks, like I had friends and this large extended family. And when we moved, not that they stopped, but it was impossible for them to keep being the same because of the distance. And I think for me as a teenager, there was probably a lot of pain and like grief in that. And I think it produced a response in me. One of the episodes we spoke about how situations can teach us, like it's the experiential learning that I hadn't experienced and it taught me something. And I think what it taught me was that relationships end. And so I think I put this circle around myself. I'm scared that if I form a deep connection in relationship with somebody or a group of people or whatever, that at some point that will finish. And I don't like that feeling. So as a response, I have a tendency to hold people at arm's length, because if we stumble across something that's deep, I've been using the word beautiful. Like if I stumble across something deep and beautiful, then at some point that will finish. And the pain of that finishing isn't, what I've taught myself is it's not worth having it. Seeing that circle quite clearly for the first time, like scared me a bunch, because I'm married. And so what does that look like in my marriage? And I have deep and close friends, but what does that mean in those friendships? And as I've been exploring over this last couple of weeks, there's different degrees of vulnerability and deepness and authenticity that I offer depending on my relation to the other person. So my wife, for example, I'm much more vulnerable and deep with her, obviously, than I am with just anybody else. But within that relationship, there are things that I go, if we go here, it's going to make our relationship even more beautiful. And I'm scared that when does that finish? And like, we're not planning on finishing our marriage ever. But what I've been taught as a kid is that beautiful things finish. So then as I've been looking at this circle, and instead of going, what does it take to step out, or is it worth it? I've actually found myself finding smaller circles within it and feeling like, oh no, I'm actually quite penned in.
It's like a ripple effect. It's
100%.
like one wave rolls in and that's your circle, and then you look out and there's like another 12 waves.
Yeah.
And they're all coming in. So.
And so this deeper circle is that there's an element of my personality and my character that can be quite perfectionistic. Is that a word?
It is now.
Come on.
Add
You know
it to
what I
the
mean.
dictionary.
It's like perfectionism, but it's a characteristic.
Yeah.
And I find that I have tried to start beautiful things, and either it doesn't turn out as beautiful as I wanted it to be, or it's not what I imagined, and it was like disappointing, to the point where I won't start things because, one, what if it's not as beautiful as it could be? Or two, what if it is beautiful but it finishes? And the pain of that is it worth exploring it? When we were like joking about the idea of this podcast, when we got to the point of like, should we actually just do it and see what it turns into? I remember saying to you, whether verbally or through text, saying to you, I know I have a tendency of beginning things but not having the discipline of editing and finishing and being on top of that. And I remember saying to you, if I just turn up, speak, hit record, and then it just finds its way onto Spotify, YouTube through you, then I'm in, because it's almost like the investment for me is somewhat at bay. And that, what I'm discovering is, although it's true about me, I haven't got a high level of tenacity when it comes to like finishing projects. I'm at the other end of like a dream or wonder space. But sometimes it's masked as perfectionism of going, I won't even start that because what happens if it's not as beautiful as I think? Or what happens if it is and it finishes? Like the one that's got me is in my connection and friendship to people. So I don't know if we've ever had to experience kookaburras before, but if previous episodes we hear planes, then people can hear kookaburras.
Absolutely. And they're laughing at us.
Stop it. I'm a bit vulnerable. I know there's moments in friendship where I hold back, not like a brutal opinion or honesty, but I hold back like some things that I'm actually thinking, because what happens if that turns into something beautiful? My history tells me that it finishes, and then my history tells me that when it finishes, it hurts. That's probably come up quite recently in our world here, where I had a friendship, beautiful, and the friendship hasn't finished, but it's changed dramatically for me. Like there's significant pain in it. And so again, it's reinforcing like, is the beauty worth it when it finishes? I've just seen that like pop up again and again in things, and talking with different people and catching myself holding thoughts or reflections back, and then thinking about why I'm doing that, because it's my circle, and having that last episode I dropped the word metacognition, the thinking about the way that you're thinking, and I'm doing that, but as I'm thinking. Yeah, it scared me a little bit because even talking about it is, I think, a step outside the circle. Because if I have to explain to you, Lachie, that, and this is genuine. This is like, there are moments in discussions that we have that I will hold the full extent of my feelings or my thoughts back, because I know that the friendship that we have, I really enjoy, but I know that if I chip in a little more and we go deeper and you respond to it, then the friendship that we have could be even more beautiful. And that scares me, because what happens if that finishes? And the pain of that, is that pain worth it? And so even to talk about the circle has to be a step of coming outside the circle. Do you know what I mean? If I have to explain that, that is me becoming deep and connected to you and being like, well, now you know that about me. How is that going to beautify our friendship? And that's just going to hurt a little bit more. And now I've just disclosed it on a podcast that people who know me are listening to it and could quite easily bring it up in conversation. And I have to be like, yeah, okay, I have to account for this circle now. Yeah, that's been a bit of a journey for me about my circle. And so then I've been thinking about, last episode, you said, what does it take to step over it? And is it worth it? And I think those questions have also scared me because I'm afraid that what it takes to step over it is going to be quite painful. And I'm afraid that my head tells me that it both is and isn't worth it. Because it's worth the beauty of the friendship, but is it worth the pain of it or the grief if it finishes? And that I have to figure out that little knot of being like, things don't have to finish, but also if they do, it's okay. And I know I can say that from my head, it's okay. But like, do I believe that the pain is okay? But yeah.
I have a crazy picture going through my head at the moment.
Come on.
If you picture the Olympics logo, so like 3 along the top, 4 along the top, 3 at the bottom, 2 at the bottom, whatever.
2 at the bottom, I think. The rings.
However many there are. They're the rings, they're circles, and they like overlap a lot.
Yeah.
And something I'm realizing just with this conversation is that, like, from what I can see, our rings both like sit next to each other. And there's like the middle ground, which
Yeah.
I have just written some notes because as you were talking, I was like, holy crap, like you just opened up a circle like that I have in common as well. So
Yeah.
we spoke about last episode the idea of it's really hard to find your own circle because in the story of the ant and the pen, the ant runs up and just sees this like barrier or fear and runs away.
Yep.
So he doesn't really know that he can step over it until he does. And so we said as a joke that you kind of almost need someone to just come and tell you what your circle is. And I feel like in a way you may have done that in a sense.
Yeah, I guess it's like either someone telling you or you hear of a circle and it hits and it relates and you're like, oh, maybe I have that too.
Spoiler alert, talking about my circle of being like hyper competitive and not really ever doing anything just for fun. And it's always a bit of a competition, whether it's internally within myself or against other people in a sport or a hobby or a competition. Because it's kind of that put all your eggs in one basket or not many baskets kind of mentality. It's the same when it comes to friendships. And if I look at my friend circle, I could count on less than one hand how many people I would deem as like, I guess it's your interpretation of the word friend, but like you've got good friends, best friends, all the friends, but for me, like friend is like that person that isn't family but could be, basically, and then everyone else is still friends, but I guess that's where best friends come into it. And that circle for me is minute, like very, very small, and it does change a lot. We spoke not long ago about the idea of like when a rocket goes to space, there's boosters, and the boosters aren't designed to go to space, but they're designed to get you there. And once they get to that altitude, they just fall off. And so a lot of my friendships have been that, where I like ride with them until I get to not really the altitude, but to a place where they can't reach. They can't get there. And
Yeah.
when you talked about coming from UK to Australia,
Yeah.
a lot of those friends, they can't reach Australia. Like
No.
they can't get across and they can't reach that space. So
Yeah.
I've experienced the same thing just through leaving high school.
Yeah.
I think there's one person that I went to high school with, like primary school, high school, all of those people and connections I have, there's one that remains, which if I was to put in the effort and reach out,
Yeah.
there could be more. But it's the same mentality of I don't have enough resources to dump into that because it's like at the end of the day, it's not going to be as worth it as it is for me to put more time into the relationships that will last longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's something I talk with kids a lot about.
Yeah.
Is like, you might not like all the people here, but even the people you do like, there's a very high chance that in a couple of years, they just disappear.
It looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember a little while ago, we had one of our car journeys to get some lunch with some people. And we asked them something along the lines of like, what are you afraid of? What's a fear or something? And I remember reflecting mine of being, one of my fears is if I'm truly authentic and if I'm truly honest, I'm afraid that I might not be accepted, or like, will you like all of me if I am 100% authentic? And it's kind of an Olympic ring circle where it kind of overlaps. But I think, as I've been thinking about it, it's like actually what I'm scared of is if I am truly me and I'm open and honest and deep with the people around me who I consider friends, like you were saying, not will you accept me, but will it turn into something beautiful or not? And if it does, will that finish? And that's what I'm afraid of. Man.
I think there's a thought there where we all know that all of that will finish.
Yeah.
But it's more, for me, would be what am I going to put the effort into that's going to last the longest and almost be like replicated? Because there's people that you put a lot of effort into, and you said this when we were talking about my circle, but what happens when you don't get that back? And if you're the person that's putting like all the effort in and you're the competitive person and you're trying to like really make things work and then you don't get it in return, like what happens there? And I guess that's where like the outside of my circle like nudges onto that side of yours as well.
Yeah. The other thing that cropped up as I was thinking about this was that there's some moments in our job that require us to tell stories or to offer parts of ourselves to groups for like connection. There's parts where if we're talking with especially kids about something like our values and like what it personally means, me sharing a story about me connecting to a value and why that's significant and important is powerful for them to hear. And so I need to have a level of vulnerability and openness to be like, I'm going to talk about this really hard thing and because I learned a value from it, and I want you to understand why that's important. And I can do that really easily because I'm with those people for 3 days max, and then they go. And over that 3 days, there is this deepness, but it's not long lasting, and I know it's going to finish. So I can be like, yeah, man, I can offer you some pretty hard stories or some really powerful, emotive things that have happened in my life that are considered deep and vulnerable. I'll give that to you easy. I don't like, you'll never see me again. I know it's not going to turn beautiful, so I don't need to worry about it. It's interesting them reflecting on sharing those moments with consistency over time with people like friends and being like, do I offer that much vulnerability to the people that I do know and care about? Or do I withhold because it's turning beautiful and that scares me?
Do you think that there's a side where you, like the fear stands to spreading yourself too thin as well? Where if like you put too much of that into too many people, it takes away from like marriage or the ones that are really strong and powerful. Do you feel like if that's kind of like a layer as well?
Yeah, I could probably, similar to you, there are friends in my world that I could count on one hand that are very deep and significant and long lasting. I feel like spreading myself too thin, I haven't thought about. I think because of the way that I operate of giving enough to feel connected but not anything beautiful, I don't feel spread too thin. It's like the people that are on the cusp of becoming very deep and connected, and also the people that are already deep and connected of going like, it's almost like it takes somebody for me, it takes someone a long time to enter that circle of proximity to me in deepness. And once they're there, I don't like that they come any closer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the people on the outside, I'm like, oh, I just won't let you into this circle. There's people on the fringes that are like, oh man, I'm scared. And then the people that are in it being like, well, I don't want to go any deeper now because I've let you in too much anyway. So now from here on in, it's just getting more beautiful and then more painful.
I think it's going to be two perspectives to this. Like someone who's like, oh, you're so ingenuine and all this kind of stuff. But what's exciting for us from a different perspective is those people that you're not bringing to the absolute inner circle most likely don't know that. And so a lot of the people that are wherever they sit within this like layer of rings, they don't know where the layer of rings are. I think you can tell when you know someone well enough. Like for you, I can tell within just our company, like who sits closer and further away. But in terms of that like emotional connectedness, you don't have those conversations in groups of people. It's all one-on-one. And so I think that's what allows you to do this. And there's probably a lot of people that fear like pushing people and holding people at a certain distance because they feel disingenuine. Generally, that's when you have that level of comparison that it becomes a problem. And if people can't compare and they don't know, they just know you for you, and your friendship is your friendship. Like they're not comparing that to other people.
That's a good perspective, that they actually don't know my thought process on it, and they are taking our friendship and relationship as, you know, what it is in that moment, which is beautiful. What's hard about me and my personality is that I find it hard when it feels like there's no substance to something, at the same time not wanting the substance to something. I feel like I'm just, is the word dichotomy? Is that it's like...
Mate, use big words and I'm out.
It feels like I want the substance, but I don't want it. Like want, you know, so we've had conversations before about small talk and being like, it kills me, but I also don't want to go deep because what happens if?
Yeah.
And so I'm in this like weird place. So it bumps up quite a bit where I'm like, oh, I'm recognizing this is small talk, and it's actually okay because me and this person, when it doesn't need to be deep, and that's okay. I hope they have other people that they have deep connection with. It's not with me. But then there's other people where it already is deep, and I'm like, okay, like, am I choosing to go deeper and more beautiful? Or, or am I just too scared?
Pump the brakes.
Of my circle. So what does it take for me to step outside of the circle?
The other question that we establish is, do you want to? Or do you need to? Based off this conversation, I think there's an unknown capacity that everyone has of like energy and effort and beautifulness and love that you can give to people. And as soon as you give so much to this person, then someone over there is like collateral, and because you're putting more in this basket, unfortunately that fades away. Hence, moving from UK to Australia, you'd be on the mission, or not even mission, it would happen naturally, but you'd start building more friendships, and that takes up your time, so you can no longer invest in those previous.
Yeah, it's true.
So maybe, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but maybe it's something that you can be aware of and make choices for, but potentially it's not a circle you have to step out. Maybe, as a new analogy, we just expand. Like the circle just gets a bit bigger.
It just becomes a weird like shape.
Yeah, jelly bean.
Maybe it's that there are some moments where it is a circle with certain people, and where some moments it's actually not a circle. It's just the feeling is the same, but it's not a circle. Do you know what I mean? I would say for the people that the friendship and the connection that I have with people, that it does feel like a circle. I know, like this conversation or me explaining this, I've like sat down with my wife and told her this, and that's one way of me attempting to step outside the circle, of being like, hey, I need you to know this about me. And it's not that up until this point you haven't experienced an authentic version of me. But if I tell you that there are moments where I hold back the depth and the potency of my emotion, like there have been moments where I've done that and held that back. That's the other thing about me, is that my lows in my emotion, they're not that low. But my highs aren't that high either. They're kind of like squished into a bit of a medium. Like I'm fairly consistent, and it takes something quite big and drastic to bring my low to a low, or bring my high to an absolute high. Some of that is my personality, and also some of that is the fear of the circle, of going like, if I really tell you how excited I am for something, or how sad something has actually made me feel, it deepens our connection. Things get more beautiful than what if. And so I kind of I put caps on my emotion. Anyway, that's a whole other tangent that I'm scared of.
Episode 47.
And one way of just stepping outside the circle is even just saying that to the people that are close to me, of being like, I feel like I don't give myself permission to feel the feelings, and I just need to let you know that. And that's like beginning to step outside the circle, because that's vulnerable, and that's deepening something that you know something about me that then could flourish into beauty, and here's a deeper extent of my emotion now. And then the other question of, is it worth it, it feels like a rabbit hole for me. Because the beauty of a friendship and the substance of a friendship, in the end, I reckon is all we have. Like, I think we're built for connection with people. Not everybody, but we're built to have satisfying, fulfilling, beautiful connection. And it is worth it. And so I don't think the question is the beauty of the relationship worth it? It's, do I deem the journey of getting to that beautiful place worth the potential pain if it finishes? Does that beauty far exceed any grief that I might experience?
It probably would also, like, having that thought in mind, if you decide yes on that person or that answer, it's going to make you just put so much more in, I feel, because there's that thought that, like, this could end sometime, and it's unknown. It could be tomorrow, it could be in a year, it could be in 100 years. Like, no one knows if it could and will it. So there's probably a level there where you're just like, I'm all in. And just, I guess that's marriage in a nutshell. But
yes, I'm all in forever.
Yeah. But
I hadn't thought about that angle before. Of being like, if this is limited and I say yes, it's worth it, then I'm just throwing everything into it. Instead of, I'll withhold and have this semi-beautiful thing. Dang.
That's what I'm saying. We've got a whole episode coming up on perspective, surely.
Shivers.
We can be here all day.
Yeah, man, I feel like that just unlocks some things.
I'm having a moment.
So I think my circle's made of fear and beauty.
They go well together.
Probably.
Maybe they do, and we're figuring that out. I put a lot of thought. I don't think I did it justice listening back to previous episode, but I put a lot of thought into, if I had to write, if I had a piece of paper, I drew a circle, and I had to write what is on the inside the circle, and what is on the outside the circle, what would your summary in that space be?
Inside the circle would be self-protection. And I think outside the circle will be beauty and grief. So the inside of the circle is self-protection, because I'm protecting myself from the what-ifs. But outside the circle waiting for me is the beauty that a relationship can hold, but also the potential for grief and loss.
It seems like a really thin line.
Very thin.
Like, in between those two, there's not a lot there.
No.
I guess the obvious question is, what now? We've both established
our circles.
I feel like potentially you may have exposed, without me knowing, another massive circle that I have.
Yeah.
And so
What now?
we've talked in the past about a great reflection technique of what now. And I feel like we've done all of it except the what now, and
what now.
like what's steps moving forward. And it's potentially something we have to think about rather than just say straight away. But
Yeah.
to conclude the
Yeah.
circle chapter,
I have an idea for mine,
Mm.
and it's a practical challenge that might not be addressing the circle specifically, but I think touches on, overlaps. I think I want to practice verbalizing my gratitude and appreciation for people in my life.
Mm.
I have a high value on words. I know that, like, have you heard of, like, the 5 love languages?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say words of affirmation are high for me, like receiving. What I do understand is that there is a high value and there's a high power of words.
Mm.
There's a high power that words carry, I should say. And it also connects vulnerable feelings to, like, being able to communicate that with people. And so practicing, just taking a moment and being like, hey, I love this, or like, hey, thanks for being here, thanks for chatting, thanks for this aspect of who you are. I think opening out that appreciation and gratitude, it's acknowledging, like, the beauty of the friendship and letting them know some of the things that I think internally. I think it would be an interesting thing to practice. Thanks for being here, and, like, I mean it.
Yeah.
That's just one. I feel like this could be heaps. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel similar. Like, just you saying that, I know that recently I've somehow been doing that more. Like, just telling people, it's like, really appreciate you being here, like what you do. And yeah, I think being a perfectionist and a competitive person, I've always, like, you accept that, like, what the baseline is of, like, this is what you should be doing. So when you do it, it's not that exciting, and I don't congratulate myself, let alone other people. And so any time there's, like, a slip up or a downfall, you're quick to jump and be like,
Wow.
that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, in competitive sports, like, we're constantly just telling each other, like, we made this mistake, we've got to fix this, but you haven't looked at the 99 things that you've done flawlessly. Unfortunately, in a sport, like, it's the one mistake that loses you a game or a championship. So
Yeah.
that's obviously at the forefront of your brain, but in things that aren't as competitive, such as work and general life and living and friendship, maybe there's a lot of space to be able to do that more.
Yeah.
And I think it's something I've been doing, but I would love to join that trend of just saying what you think more.
Yeah.
And less of the negativity and more of the positivity.
Yeah.
Well, we've done well. We haven't been here all day. This will be episode 8.
Yep.
Then we'll have episode 9. And then episode 10, we have a bit of a funky idea we've been building over time.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to leave it?
I want to talk about it.
Please talk about it.
I want to leave it, but I also want to talk about it. So
hey, the depth of my emotion, I would love for you to talk about it.
I got you. A dream I had early days was, once we initiated the podcast and got a few episodes up and running, I wanted to get to 10. Like, my competitive nature.
10 feels like a good number.
Set a goal, get there, and if we never see 11, well, unlucky. But for episode 10, a big thing that I enjoy about this is, respectfully, not recording, but actually, like, going back and listening and editing and putting it together in a way that is digestible or runs smoothly. But within that, I've taken note of a few, like, really key takeaways and points. And I think episode 10 is a great number to just rattle some of those off and just go down from episode 0 to episode 9 and go through, like, some of the absolute gold that we've just stumbled across. And then on the back half, hoping that doesn't take too long, I love, like, a Q&A section. And so I've been digging around my circle of people and asking just questions in conversation and getting people specifically within this industry of outdoor education and temporary community and stuff like that. What are some questions that you ask yourself and you question, and if we can talk about that and maybe shed some light, that might help us, but also help them, which could be awesome. So every episode we've set ourselves a challenge. We both kind of have like a quest to go on, which will be exciting.
Yep.
But I want to challenge the minute population that stumble across this part of the episode to, like, if you have any question and you know myself or Jonah in person, talk to us in person, share the question, text us, whatever. If you don't, then we could get our first comment on
I was going to say, if you don't, there's a little comment box, isn't there? On Spotify and YouTube.
Oh, it'll be
Just
exciting.
throw in a little question, see what happens.
Actually, we have had one comment, which was one of our friends just gassing us up, saying they love this and it's incredible and they stumbled across it. So we've done well, but
shout out to that person.
Yeah, I would love to get a little bit more insight from people that have found this and see what they're thinking and what questions they might have. I don't really care if it's like personal, if it's for us specifically,
or like industry related,
them related, their circle related, like any relation, and we'll just filter. I don't want to name and shame people, so unfortunately we won't give anyone credit or roast them. But yeah, we just need some good source, because we do a lot of brainstorming, but I want some external factors. I want some extra juice coming in that we haven't produced.
And even if like they've been listening to other episodes and generate questions from that.
Absolutely.
And you know, if it's what the people listening are interested in, then So what I'm hearing, to summarize episode 10, spending a little bit of time reflecting on the previous episodes and the gold that we've stumbled across, and then also engaging in some Q&As that aren't questions that I've generated for you or you've generated for me, but some community participation.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm excited for 9 and 10 now.
And then to add to that, there's far-fetched talks, like in the severe distance of potentially getting on the guest train. And I'm not going to confirm and say it's happening, but we've poked the idea to a few people, and the initial answer is that could be fun.
It could be fun.
So we've got to figure out what that looks like, what it sounds like, making sure we can do it with good audio, and then looking at topics and people and making sure it's for the right reason. I think we do this for a specific reason, and the people that we bring in aren't just going to be like this person because we like him, and this person. Like, it needs to be
in our industry and in our journeys. We've come across some really incredible people in the field, and hearing their wisdom and their reflection on things we enjoy, whether it's being recorded or not.
Yeah.
And so bringing those people on to share the wisdom and the gold and to ask questions. I'm excited for those episodes too. That'd be really cool. Well, I appreciate you listening. I'm practicing now.
Okay.
I appreciate you listening and holding a space for me. And I didn't feel like what I was saying was silly or strange or like missed the mark. I felt quite accepted, and that means a lot to me. So I appreciate it. And it's also made me nervous because now you know that about me.
And editing is wonderful, so I will be able to get rid of all the coughs and sneezes.
Yes.
And put them all in right at the end.
Perfect.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.